As a sales rep, your number one job is to solve your prospects' pain points. But if the prospect doesn't trust you, then they're never going to tell you what those pain points actually are. And if you can't solve their problems, of course, there's no reason for them to work with you. There's no reason for them to give you a deal. There's no reason for your company to pay you a massive commission bonus, which is what we're obviously all here for. So how do you get prospects to open up, and how do you get them to open up fast? That's what we're going to cover in this video. Hi, my name is Will and I make selling simple. Now, according to HubSpot's data, just 3% of buyers trust B2B sellers. And this is not your fault. It's not my fault either. This is mostly due to buyers being burned in the past due to previous bad experiences. But for someone like you, and hopefully someone like myself who's bringing real value, you're being lumped into the same bucket of con men and crooks, and I know it's not fair, but that's just what your prospects think. So, what do you do? How do you get your prospects to open up? How do you get past this preconceived barrier that they have about all salespeople? Well, the first thing you need to do is truly understand the situation. Now, as charming as you may be, 98% of buyers are going to put their guards up instantly whenever they speak to a salesperson, whether it's a cold call, an email, an in-person meeting, a conference, whatever it is. This is because, as a general rule, most salespeople, and this is salespeople who tend to suck, right, which is 99% of the market, don't go into business conversations on an even footing with their buyer. They come into the conversation with a skewed level of value. They don't really understand the buyer's problems. The buyer knows this because the buyer actually has something to give in some cash, some revenue, and the salesperson doesn't have really anything to give. There's this skewed nature to the conversation. So if you want to get buyers to trust you quick, balance things up. Remember, this is not a conversation with a buddy from college. This is a business conversation. So rather than treating it like the friendly conversation that it just isn't, look for ways to share business insights up front so that the buyer starts to treat you like an equal immediately in your relationship. So now that the buyer sees that you're on an even level with them from a business acumen perspective, and that you've probably got something to give more so than just trying to close a deal, any deal, it's time to move on to step 2, which is bridging the gap. And bridging the gap is dead simple. You just got to find something, anything that you both have in common from a business perspective, and then lean into it. People, places, events, outcomes, problems that you've solved in the past, whatever it is. This list of common ground topics is essentially endless. And as H. Jackson Brown Jr. put it, remember that everyone that you meet is afraid of something, loves something, and has lost something. And the most important thing here really is to be genuinely congruent. Don't fake enthusiasm that you just don't have. If you hate this industry, this product, this service, it's better to come into the conversation even 1% grumpy than it is to try and bullshit your way into it, pretending that you're happy and that you're excited about the situation you find yourself. This is because prospects can smell bullshit a mile away. And if they catch even the smallest whiff of it, it's going to bring that guard right back up again, and you're going to be starting from step 1. Next up, you've got to get insanely curious. And one of the best ways to get a prospect to open up is to ask them about their pain points, and then to shut up and let them share their pain points. They might give you 1, 2, 3, 7. What most salespeople do is, as soon as they hit something slightly related to their product, they get to their pitch and start shoving it down the buyer's throat. Don't do that. Let them speak, relax, and just listen. If you approach every one of your sales meetings and sales calls with insane levels of curiosity, you'll do this naturally. Let me give you a practical way that you can implement this. So when I'm on calls with Salesman.com Academy prospects, people who want to get signed up to our program, whether it's an individual or a larger organization, I always try and start the conversation after that initial bit of back and forth and rapport building with the question, what led you to getting this call booked in with me today? Now, this is a great question if this is an inbound lead that's come to you. A question like this stops you from making assumptions. Instead, you get the prospect to explain why they're sat in front of you. It stops you from making incorrect assumptions and going down totally the wrong path when you don't really need to. If you do this correctly and you're genuinely curious, the prospect is going to coach you on what they want, what they're looking for. And when you take this approach, you avoid all of the lost time from assuming incorrect motivations, missing the mark on your potential solution, to those problems, and you get to just have a much nicer, congruent, organic conversation with the prospect as well. So get curious and let buyers tell you about the problems in their own words. Next, you should boost your image just a little bit. And this is important because a little bit of self-deprecation can go a long way to getting your prospect to let down their defenses so you can have an adult conversation with them. Now, what do I mean by this? How do we go about doing it? One way to go about doing this is to tell a story where you helped a current customer of yours go through a similar pain point that the prospect that you're engaging with right now currently has. What you want to do here is let the prospect know that what they're going through is normal, that there's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about, that other people have made this bridge from their current reality to their future reality where they want to get to. And then at that point, you can start explaining the benefits of solving the problem. This model follows the Selling Made Simple storytelling framework, which you can find in the book Selling Made Simple. You can grab that for free over at salesman.com. And it's pretty simple, but incredibly powerful at getting your buyers to drop their guard and to engage with you as a business person as opposed to a salesperson. So what we're going to do first is call out the current reality. What is the issue? What has other people faced in the past? What have their competitors faced? What have people who are similar to them that you've worked with had to dig into? Then the unresolved pain. Perhaps because of their current reality, they lost revenue, respect, they crippled their career, their business nearly went under, whatever it is. Really point it out and dig into this unresolved pain and make it real for the buyer. Then in our short story, we're going to explain, well, what stopped the buyer just solving this for themselves? If they knew they were in so much pain, if there were so many issues, why didn't they just solve it? Well, they didn't solve it because of these blockers. What stopped them from making this change, this implementation, this consulting, whatever it is, what held them back from getting this implemented? And then we'll move on to the buyer's future reality. So what do things look like now? What's their bigger, bolder, brighter future that they got to? That's obvious, right? This is the hero's journey. Current reality, unresolved pain, something stopped them. They got over those hurdles and then they got to their bigger, brighter, bolder future reality. But there's one important last step of the framework. And in our context here, this is the most important. We're going to explain how we got them from one side to the other. So the buyer is the hero in this story. They're the ones that got all the benefits. They're the ones that faced all the pains. We just held their hand and helped them along through the process. If you have a prospect that does have their guard up and you're struggling to break through that, sharing a story using this storytelling framework where you helped someone like them resolve their issues is an amazing way of breaking through this barrier, because it's not going, hey, Will Barron, I'm the greatest sales trainer of all time. I did this is my accolade, I've solved this problem, I've worked with all these companies. No, the buyer doesn't really care about any of that. What the prospect wants to hear is someone like me solved this specific problem, this specific way, and got all these benefits. And, maybe Will Barron is the person who can help me go from one place to another. Maybe he isn't, but it's probably worth listening to him for another 5-10 minutes to see if this is a good fit. And that leads us on to the final step. We want to listen like a forensic investigator. Now, this makes total sense when I say it, but it took me a while to actually implement this in my sales career in yesteryears when I worked in medical device sales. The only way people can open up to you is if they're speaking. So you got to shut up and actually start listening to them. Stop trying to pitch them. Stop trying to manipulate and pull the conversation from one side to another. If you spend most of your time trying to influence them rather than just listening, you're probably doing it wrong. So instead, make an active effort to listen more than you talk. And of course, this is going to be tough for salespeople. It's tough for me on occasion as well, because most people who get into sales, who have any success in sales, who stay in sales for 5-10 years, who get the mega paychecks at the end of that process, it's because they are typically extroverted. Or like me, I'm an introvert, but I can turn on a level of extrovertedness. We're talkers. We enjoy asking the questions. We enjoy going back and forth. But the more that you listen, and I mean actually really truly listen, the more you're going to uncover about your prospect's real pain points. And that means that you're going to be better positioned to set them up with a solution that actually solves the problems. Now, no cheating here. Listening isn't just not talking. Listening is being fully present in the moment. This is how forensic investigator Michael Reddington explained it on a recent Salesman.com podcast.
The most important part of listening is talking. Not if I'm talking to you, I can't listen. But more importantly, if I have my inner monologue running, I'm also not listening to you.
So there we go. Getting prospects to let down their guard on a sales call and an initial sales meeting can be tough. They've been trained over the years to not listen to salespeople because they fear that they're going to be influenced and pushed and bullied one way or another. But if you have the right game plan and you follow these steps, getting people to have a adult business-to-business conversation is actually pretty easy. Understand the buyer's situation, bridge the gap between the both of you, get insanely curious, bust your image, and listen like a forensic investigator. Once you do that, you're gonna be able to get to the heart of your buyer's pain points, you're gonna be able to qualify them more quickly, and you're gonna connect with them in a real valuable way that they're gonna enjoy, and you're gonna enjoy it as well. So if you enjoyed this video, why not click the video that's on the screen right now and continue making selling simple.